Have you ever wondered why the more control you give her, the more distant she becomes? You're doing everything right, listening, understanding, giving her space, letting her choose. You're careful not to push, not to upset, not to come across as too much. You make sure she feels safe, empowered, respected, and yet, night by night, her texts get colder, her tone dulls, her laughter once free and full becomes polite, mechanical. She used to melt in your hands. Now she barely looks up from her phone. You're not a bad guy. In fact, you're the kind of man women say they want. Thoughtful, supportive, emotionally available. But something's off, and deep down, you feel it. Like standing on a frozen lake and hearing it crack beneath you. Here's the truth: she doesn't want control. She wants to be led, not oppressed, not manipulated, but guided, held, dominated not by force, but by energy, presence, command. She doesn't want a co-pilot nervously asking her for directions. She wants a man who knows where he's going and doesn't flinch when she tests him. You're losing her because you're giving her a throne she never asked for. Let me walk you into it. There was a guy I knew, solid guy. Let's call him Daniel, early 30s, stable career, good heart. Met a woman at a mutual friend's party. She was fire, confident, flirtatious, sharp tongue, eyes like danger. Daniel fell quick, said she was different. He said all the right things. I want her to feel in control. I want her to lead if she wants. I don't want to come off as pushy. So he played it safe. And every time she pulled back, he gave her more space. Every time she tested, he backed down. Every disagreement he folded to keep the peace. 2 months later, she was gone. No explanation. Just off the grid. When I asked him what happened, he said, "I don't get it. I gave her everything she wanted." No, he didn't. He gave her what she said she wanted. But what she felt was very different. You see, when a woman says she wants an equal, what she means is she wants a man who is strong enough to stand beside her without crumbling. She doesn't want to lead the relationship. She wants a man she can trust to lead and test, and test, and test again. Because in those tests, she's not looking for control. She's looking for your spine. And if she can't feel it, she'll walk all over it. Not because she's cruel, but because her nervous system needs to feel your dominance. Not physical, not aggressive, psychological, emotional, energetic, directional. She wants to feel like you see the whole chessboard and she can relax into the game. Most men confuse submission with weakness. But when a woman submits to you emotionally, sexually, psychologically, it is the most sacred offering she can give. And she can only give it when she feels that you are unshakable. When you aren't asking her what she wants for dinner like a waiter begging for a tip. When you aren't adjusting your every move based on the flick of her mood. When you can look her in the eye and say, "This is where we're going. You can come or not, but I'm not waiting." And here's where most guys screw it up. They confuse dominance with control. Control is fear. Control is manipulation. Control is weak men clinging. Dominance is stillness, clarity, unapologetic presence. Dominance doesn't ask for permission, but it doesn't beg for attention either. It just is. It's when you stop chasing, stop over-explaining, stop negotiating your value like a used car salesman. It's when you decide that your time, your focus, your peace are not open for her emotional volatility to invade. It's when you set the frame and you let her play inside it or leave. You ever had a woman pull back just to see if you chase? That's not random. That's an instinctual probe. She wants to feel your containment. She wants to know if she throws emotional chaos at you, you'll still be rooted. If you abandon yourself the moment she threatens to abandon you, she will lose all respect and desire. Here's the paradox most nice guys miss. She doesn't want to lead, but she will if she feels you won't. And the moment she's forced to take that role, she starts to resent you. Not because you're weak in general, but because you're weak with her, and she needs to feel like you can handle her tears, her seduction, her mood swings, her ambition, her darkness. She wants a man who makes her feel small, not with words, but with presence, not by belittling her, but by being so grounded that her storms look like summer rain. And if you don't give her that, she'll find it in a man who does. Have you ever let a woman take control, only to watch her lose interest completely? What did that moment feel like? Do you recognize a time you softened your edge to please her and it backfired? Which part of yourself do you think you've been hiding to stay safe? Drop it in the comments. You think she wants comfort. She says she wants safety. She tells you she values emotional maturity, communication, peace, and you believe her because you want those things too. You crave connection without games. You want something steady, not the chaos. You're tired of trying to guess what she means when she says I'm fine, so you give it to her everything you think she needs. You respond faster. You stop bringing up things that bother you. You let her decide what movie to watch, what restaurant to eat at, when to talk, when to meet, when to love. You figure that if you're agreeable enough, understanding enough, soft enough, she'll stay. But instead, she drifts. You sense her eyes begin to wander. You notice her tone gets colder. You wonder if someone else has her attention. You can't prove it, but your gut knows. She's not mad at you. She's bored, and boredom, to the female psyche, is death. Here's something you've probably never been told. Emotional tension is oxygen to female desire. She may say she wants predictability, but she craves polarity, masculine and feminine, fire and water, command and surrender. And when you try to level the energy, when you eliminate all friction, she goes numb, because you've stripped the relationship of its heat. There's a reason she can't stop thinking about the one guy who challenged her, who didn't always agree, who didn't chase after every argument. He left a mark on her nervous system, not because he was toxic, but because he carried charge. And now you're here, polite, consistent, available but flat. She respects you, but she doesn't feel you. And the moment she stops feeling you, she stops wanting you. You have to understand, dominance isn't about force. It's about directed energy. It's how you walk into a room. It's whether your eyes hold hers without blinking. It's whether you make decisions or defer them. It's whether you initiate or wait to be invited. Let's break this down practically. If she's withdrawing attention, don't ask her what's wrong. Don't try to decode her silence. Don't shrink. That's exactly what weakens the polarity. Instead, give her distance without punishment. Let her feel the emptiness of your absence. You don't disappear out of spite, you remove your warmth with dignity. And if she reaches out again, you don't jump. You respond with calm, with direction. You re-establish frame. If she throws emotional chaos your way, passive aggression, guilt tripping, mood swings, you don't react. You hold eye contact. You slow your breathing. You let the fire burn in front of you without touching it. Then, when the smoke clears, you speak one sentence. Don't bring drama into my world again. No argument, no lecture, just a line. And the moment you say it, she knows. She's dealing with a man who has boundaries. Not walls boundaries. A man who doesn't fear losing her because he doesn't need her to validate his worth. Women are not attracted to your availability. They are magnetized by your centeredness. That means you don't chase, you don't explain, and you don't dance to emotional music you didn't play. It means you don't need her to be happy for you to feel peace. And most of all, it means you can walk away at any moment, not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more. Let me give you an example. I once watched a man break out of the nice guy death spiral in real time. His name was Alex. He was with a woman who controlled every inch of the relationship where they went, when they met, what they talked about. He followed, obeyed, overcorrected. She loved him at first, but by year 2, she was checked out flirting with other men, belittling him in front of friends, withholding affection. One night, at dinner, she pushed too far. Public disrespect, loud, intentional. Old Alex would have swallowed it, made a joke, kept the peace. But this time he stood up, dropped money on the table and said, "This is the last time you'll ever speak to me like that." He left. He didn't call, didn't text, didn't plead. And what happened within 72 hours? She was blowing up his phone. She cried. She apologized. She said she didn't mean it, but it was too late, because something in him had changed. He had finally realized dominance isn't about dominating her. It's about dominating yourself. Women respond to that shift like animals sensing the return of a real male presence. It activates something primal, and no amount of logic, communication skills, or therapy speak can replace it. Because the truth is this: she doesn't want to be your mother. She doesn't want to manage your emotions. She doesn't want to steer your ship. She wants to feel your rudder. And if she can't, she will take the wheel, but only long enough to crash the boat and blame you for the wreck. What's the most confusing shift you felt in a woman's behavior after you gave her what she asked for? Have you ever felt the exact moment her eyes stopped lighting up when you entered the room? What's one time you knew you should have walked away, but didn't? You ever notice how the more power you give her in the relationship, the less attracted she seems, the more you let her decide, the more indecisive she becomes? You ask what she wants to eat, she shrugs. You ask if she's okay, she says fine. You ask how to fix things, and she just looks away. It's not confusion, it's exhaustion. She's tired of carrying the masculine role you handed her. Not because she doesn't want to be heard or respected, of course she does, but she's been living in a world that forces her to be in control all day. She plans, she manages, she calculates, she wears a face that hides her softness. And when she comes home, she doesn't want another decision to make. She wants to drop into surrender, drop into trust, drop into your hands knowing you're not going to fumble her. But when you don't lead, you rob her of that release. You think you're being respectful by asking for her input on everything. You think you're building harmony by letting her decide. But what you're really doing is making her hold the weight again and again, until eventually she shuts off, and you're left wondering why she doesn't want sex anymore, why she avoids your touch, why she says she's not in the mood, and you think, is it me? Am I not enough? No, you're just not leading. And without masculine leadership, her body won't trust you. And if her body doesn't trust you, it will not open. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: women don't get turned on by comfort. They get turned on by polarity, by the tension between surrender and control. Feminine energy wants to be taken, not in a violent way, not in a disrespectful way, but in a way that says, I see you, I feel you, and I will hold this frame so completely that you can let go. And if she doesn't feel that she'll start fights just to feel something, she'll create chaos just to test your reaction, not because she's crazy, but because you've made the waters too calm, and she's drowning in the stillness. Let's bring this down to real-world strategy. If she's being cold, withdrawn, or unpredictable, stop asking why. That question comes from fear, from chasing, from being ungrounded. Instead, notice, observe, and then do what most men are terrified to do: pull back. Not to manipulate her, but to reset the dynamic. See, when you constantly lean in, you create no space for her to come toward you. You're always closing the distance, filling the gap, fixing the silence. And in doing so, you become predictable. And predictable is not attractive. Predictable is not dominant. Predictable is a pillow soft, safe, and invisible. But when you pull back with calm, grounded energy, you create magnetism. You become the still mountain she has to climb, not out of desperation, but because she needs to feel your weight again, your edge, your gravity. Try this. The next time she gives you attitude, instead of shrinking or retaliating, look her in the eyes and say, "We don't speak to each other like that. Let's try again." Then turn and walk away. No yelling, no apology, just calm command. Or, if she's withdrawing affection and giving you the cold shoulder, don't chase, don't beg, don't initiate another "damn what's wrong" conversation. Just get busy, go live. Be so focused on your mission, your energy, your direction that she has to earn her way back into your atmosphere. And when she does, you don't reward her with desperation. You reward her with presence, with masculine stillness, with the reminder that you are the center of your world, not her mood. This is what real masculine energy looks like in practice, consistency in pressure, calm in storms, refusal to play emotional games, a clear line between what you allow and what you don't. Because when you lead like that, something strange happens. She softens, the edge in her tone melts, her voice gets lighter, her body leans in. She stops trying to prove herself and starts feeling herself. And in that space, trust blooms. And here's where it gets deeper. Most women don't even know they want to be dominated. It's buried under layers of conditioning. They think they want control until they're given it. Then it feels like a burden, and they resent you for it, because they needed you to see through their words, to feel what they couldn't say, to guide them when they were too tired to guide themselves. They needed you to be the anchor in their chaos, and instead, you handed them the compass and said, "Where should we go?" That's not love, that's abdication, and it kills attraction faster than anything else. What would change if you stopped asking for approval and started setting the tone? What's one moment you can remember where she actually relaxed because you finally took control? Have you ever had a woman get more attracted after you finally pulled back? Tell the truth. The greatest lie you've ever been sold is this: that a woman will love you more if you hand her everything, if you remove all resistance, if you give her complete say, full control, and endless comfort. But here's what they never told you: the more she controls you, the more she hates herself, the more she leads the emotional rhythm of the relationship, the more she questions why you aren't. And every time you step aside to be nice, to be kind, to be understanding, you disappear in her eyes. You become the man she tolerates, not the one she craves, because deep in her bones, she doesn't want a partner who follows her emotional lead. She wants a man who interrupts it, a man who sees her spiraling and instead of joining the spiral, stops it with presence. A man who doesn't need to be right, but refuses to be made small. A man who doesn't ask to be chosen because he chooses himself first. That man is rare. That man is remembered. That man is irresistible. Let me show you what this looks like in the real world. You're texting her, and suddenly she goes cold. Short replies, delayed responses. She was all over you last week, now she's busy. The nice guy panics. He triple texts. He sends a just checking in message. He asks, "Did I do something wrong?" He thinks that being emotionally available means never letting her drift. But you, if you've woken up, you recognize the test, so you pull back. You match her energy, not with bitterness, with indifference. Not to hurt her, but to re-establish polarity. You stay silent, not as a strategy, as a standard. She'll notice, they always do, because she was never texting you for information. She was pinging your nervous system, And when you stop responding like a boy desperate for connection and start behaving like a man unmoved by absence, she will feel it like a shift in gravity. And then the pull begins. She'll come back, not always with words, sometimes with just a meme or a haha, or a question she already knows the answer to. And if you're smart, you don't rush in. You don't flood her inbox with validation. You give her a slow response. You give her your standard, not your desperation. Because a woman doesn't respect the man who reacts. She respects the man who decides. Let me say that again. Women don't respect the man who reacts. They respect the man who decides. Now let's say she picks a fight, a small one. She accuses you of not caring or not showing up the way she wants. But you know deep down this isn't about you. It's about her storm, her own emotional noise. And the moment you start explaining, defending, trying to prove your good intentions, you've already lost. Why? Because the moment you start playing her emotional game, you become the weaker force. Instead, you stay rooted. You look her in the eyes and say, I'm not available for this kind of conversation. I'll be in the other room. When you're ready to speak with respect, I'll listen. Then you leave the room. No shouting, no insults, no coldness, just calm withdrawal of energy. That move right there. That's what separates the boys from the men. Because every emotional attack a woman throws is a test of your frame. And if you collapse, she can't trust you. Not emotionally, not sexually, not spiritually. Because whether she admits it or not, her deepest desire is this: to lose control in the presence of a man who never does. And if she can't find that in you, she'll seek it elsewhere. Maybe not in another man. Maybe in work, in drama, in social media, in emotional numbness. But she'll retreat. Because your softness didn't make her feel seen. It made her feel unsafe. And here's where the pain cuts deepest. You thought you were doing everything right. You were showing up. You were communicating. You were available. You were her safe space. But what you didn't realize is that you were giving her a burden she never wanted, the burden of leading the emotional energy between you. She didn't want to be in charge. She just didn't want to be hurt. But instead of leading with strength, you led with submission. And now she doesn't know where you went. Here's the final truth: you don't win her desire by being the best listener, the most supportive, the most available. You win it by being the most unshakable, the one who can take her fire without flinching, the one who holds the frame when she loses hers, the one who doesn't flinch when she threatens to leave because you know your value doesn't walk out the door with her. So ask yourself, when's the last time you stood your ground instead of explaining yourself? Have you ever caught yourself apologizing for something you didn't even do, just to calm her mood? What would shift if you stopped being available every time she needed reassurance? Let me ask you something. Why do you think she respects the man who doesn't need her? Why does she light up around the guy who doesn't text back immediately? Why does she obsess over the one who doesn't try too hard? It's not because she wants to be ignored. It's because she wants to feel him anchored in something deeper than her. A man who isn't swayed by her moods, her curves, or her chaos. A man who sees her storm but doesn't step into it. A man who doesn't need to dominate her body because he already dominates his own soul. And when you become that man, you don't just attract her. You command her attention without even asking for it. Because here's what almost no one will tell you: the more deeply feminine a woman is, the more she is drawn to a man she cannot shake. Not a man who disrespects her, not a man who hurts her, but a man who won't surrender himself just to be liked. You've been told that dominance is wrong, that masculine presence is toxic, that if you hold the line too firmly, you're controlling. And so you softened, you learned to talk it out. You made space, you compromised on what mattered, and in doing so, you gave away the very core of what made you attractive. Because deep in her body, she doesn't want to feel you adjust to her. She wants to feel you contain her. That's why the man she keeps going back to, the one she says is bad for her, the one who doesn't beg or explain, is the one who still lives in her chest at night. Not because he's good, not because he's right, but because he never collapsed. He never let her moods rewrite his values. He never handed over the wheel. And her body remembered that. If you want to change the game, you need to stop asking for connection and start embodying gravity. You don't chase, you center, you don't please, you lead, you don't punish, you withdraw. You don't guess what she wants. You decide what you allow. This isn't about being cold or cruel. In fact, the strongest dominance comes from compassion, not need. You don't control her behavior. You respond to it with standards, with direction, with silence when necessary. So when she withdraws, you give her space without leaning in. When she disrespects you, you don't argue. You disengage. When she tests you, you don't flinch. You hold the frame. And if she walks, you let her, because your value does not hinge on her staying. And when you become that man, something shifts in her nervous system. Suddenly, she's drawn to your stillness like a tide to the moon. Suddenly, she feels safe enough to collapse into you, not because you told her to, but because your presence made her feel like she finally could. She'll test you less. She'll soften faster. She'll trust deeper. Not because you asked her to, but because you gave her what her body was begging for the whole time, the experience of being led by a man who knows himself so deeply. He doesn't need to prove it. This is the dark truth about modern relationships. A truth most men never realize until it's too late. She didn't leave because you weren't kind enough. She left because you never made her feel your edge. She didn't break up with you because you were too difficult. She left because you made things too easy. She didn't stop wanting you because you weren't good. She stopped wanting you because you disappeared the moment she tried to feel your strength and found air. Masculine energy isn't about what you do. It's about what you refuse to be moved by. The more you orbit around her emotions, the less she orbits around you. If you want her devotion, her surrender, her deepest love, it won't come from being more available. It will come from being less reactive. She doesn't want to be the gravity. She wants to spin around something unshakable. So be it. Be the mountain. Be the fire she cannot put out. Be the man who can hold her full storm, not with words, not with promises, but with presence. And if she walks away, you don't chase. You nod. Because she didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.